All of my friends said you moved out west. You tell me stories underneath sunsets. Could it be more than just one night? Kissing the cab ride, head turning left, right. Get a ticket for two to wherever you choose. Drinking some red out of the blue. You say my name with your accent, makes me remember how much I missed you. Hope you're planning to stay for a million days. You'll be my summer in December. Hey boy, trust my intuitions always. I'm not superstitious, I got lucky. Stole your heart and it was not for the taking. I'm bad at pretending, you know I'll be true. Sunday mornings and midnight lights, turning to songs that you watch me write. Stole your sweater on that night, you took a picture, keep by my bedside. So you're mine when you're gone, baby, please don't be long. I got my ticket to the west side. You say my name with your accent, makes me remember how much I missed you. Hope you're planning to stay for a million days. You'll be my summer in December. Hey boy, trust my intuitions always. I'm not superstitious, I got lucky. Stole your heart and it was mine for the taking. It was mine for the taking. It was mine for a million days, in a million ways. Stole your heart and I got lucky. Stole your heart and it was mine in a million ways, for a million days.
There's a pyramid of power with eyes that can see it all. Cameras to capture your image at City Hall. Realize they listen whenever you make a call. If you want a revolution, I'll really give it to y'all. Brave is the army that bands against bands of dead presidents, determining life of mankind of cancerous. How we breathe vapors, green got us bleeding in streets for cheap paper. Assemble the masses, melt the plastic compound, realign when the shit gets drastic. Lit the veil when the systems are masked. It's just another pyramid scheme.
What's up, everybody? God, that is so hard to get that transition smooth now. What's up, Mark? How are you? Nice social distancing scarf there.
What's up, Sean? How you doing, man? Everything all right with you?
I am on my first day off in about a month, and that's including weekends. So yeah, it's going great now. How are
Oh, that's
you?
awesome, man. No, I'm doing good, man. I came on with the scarf just to, I've been out here in these streets, and like I said, a lot of people without masks, man.
Out here in these streets. Oh man. Well, guys, we are excited to be able to bring you another episode of Generation Orange. Kind of thrown together last minute. Plans went awry very quickly. My poor dog is not having a great day, but he's doing better now, hopefully. So,
But that's
but
good, man. Hopefully everything goes well with him.
yeah,
But
he's been not feeling well for a couple of days, and I think he just ate something that's just not agreeing with him. And so, you know how that is. If you're a pet owner, you know exactly how that is.
yes,
You
sir.
know
Yes,
how
sir.
that cleanup goes. But at the end of the day, he is relatively healthy, and that's the most I can ask for when it comes to my dog. But speaking of relatively healthy, looks like the Dynamo so far, knock on wood, have managed to avoid the COVID-19 mess, and players have not come up positive at the very least, and nobody's come up positive in the organization. I think that's a definite something that we can all be happy about and all be thankful for, to say the least.
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, it's a one of the pros of living in Houston, I think, because everything's kind of far away from each other, and you're not like living on top of
Yeah,
each other. So,
yeah,
as opposed to like New York, or even like these European countries that you see dealing with a lot of issues with the COVID-19 virus, a lot of these countries, the living situation is you live on top of each other, so it's kind of crazy, but
yeah.
it's
No,
one of the
for
pros of
sure.
living in Houston.
So we don't have show notes tonight because I had to deal with my dog mess as soon as I got home. So we are in total wing it mode, which, as you guys are well accustomed to, means it's going to be a very interesting show, to say the least.
If we're gonna
I
freestyle, no.
it, yeah, we are going to freestyle. I just want to throw it out there. This sits on my desk right here, Purell. That's good shit right there. Hand sanitizer. Uh, Poor Mark, he can't see me because of the way we're having to do this week. But just know, Mark, that I am on video. Just you're not alone this week in video. Not that you ever have
Yeah,
been. I've always been the one alone. But
I'm looking at the blank screen. I'm like, man, where's Sean at, man? I don't know if he's okay or not.
hopefully, starting with our next show, that will no longer be an issue, and we should have it should be a lot smoother moving forward. A lot of things in the works right now to improve the overall quality. The grind of improving the quality of this show never stops. Trust me when I say that. There are a lot of things in the works right now, not Gen Orange related, that I am working on and helping out with, and those sorts of things, and helping coordinate. That, frankly, the number of things is starting to baffle my mind that I'm able to keep up with it all, but somehow here I am. Um,
Well, I mean,
but
just as long as you keep, improving every day, each day that goes forward. I mean, that's all we can ask for, right? And
So,
as long as
just so you know, Mark, I tracked 89 hours worth of time last week for work. Just so you
nice,
know, on top of everything else that I managed to get done last week, I tracked
nice
89 hours of time for work. So,
time
yeah,
management.
it's but no, I want to shout out in particular the work that the Surge are doing in relation to Rocket League and those sorts of things on the weekends, trying to stream as much as they can on the weekends so that people have Dynamo fans in particular have something to look forward to. That they've I can tell you they've worked out. They've got a supporters group league thing that's going on with various supporters groups from around the country, including a couple of Liga MX supporters groups as well. Um,
So I have, so I haven't been able to keep up with it for the last couple of weekends because I've been busy a little bit. But how have y'all improved?
um, y'all. See, that's a very over encompassing word. We've worked on some things. I think that you unfortunately saw a team in Dark Clouds that is frankly going to be their next level quality. And then the last stream that went out, that was a competitive stream for the tournament, was unfortunately a team on our side that was ill prepared, and had not really played a whole lot together before that day. And by a whole lot, I mean like literally a couple of hours that day before they played.
So what you're saying is that there's only one way to go, and that's up.
Well, we've done a lot of work. We've put. I feel like I'm being interviewed as like coach or something right now. This is great. A general manager. No, that's what I'm going to go for. General manager speak. We've been out there battling. We've been doing a lot of practice. It's on us as coaches to really. Anybody who knows the Texans knows who I'm mimicking right now.
Hey Sean, before you keep going, you know what this reminds me of? The scene in Moneyball when Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt go talk to the owner
Yes.
about, hey, we need this and that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be the owner. I'm like, well, what's holding you back?
Yeah, that's right. What? Why can't we get this done? Come on. What's wrong? We've actually, because of the streaming that's been going on, and a huge shout out to Nestor Luna, who we've now dubbed the King of Streams. He has kept the streams going on twitch.tv/thesurgesg, and due to his dedication in that, we've actually pulled in a couple of new individuals into the Surge that actually are Surge members. So if anybody tries to throw that at me, I will throw it right back at you and say they are official. And the quality has gone up tremendously. I can tell you that there's also a second league that's about to start this weekend. It is the North American Supporters League. And that, sorry, not North American Supporters League. I'm sorry. It is COVID Liga. That's what they've dubbed it, which made me chuckle. And there are 3 levels of the league. There's a COVID Liga 1, COVID Liga 2, and COVID Liga 3. And
promotion and regulation?
There is promotion and relegation, actually, which is very interesting. And we have the Surge has 2 teams involved in that. One team is kind of the Houston A team, and one team is the Houston B team. And the A and the B are no representation of the quality of the team. It's just that happened to be the first team that kind of air quote registered. But Houston A is in. Well, Houston A is in COVID Liga 3, so the third tier. Houston B is in COVID Liga 2, the second tier. COVID Liga A is 1 is going to be really interesting to watch because 5 to 7 of those teams realistically have every they're good enough that they're going to compete for the championship. And so this league is scheduled to run roughly 15 weeks, I believe. No, they might have reduced it down to like 20 weeks now, but it was scheduled to run 15 weeks, and then we had to change some stuff up. But needless to say, it's going to be a pretty long-standing league. The supporters group league that the Surge have been working on, that is going to include, I think there's 18 teams currently. That number may be inflated. If Sergio or Jeff or Nest are watching this right now, please correct me. There's a number of teams, though, and I've seen the list. There are some really good teams, and there's a lot of middling teams, and then there's a couple of teams that are going to struggle. The good news is the Surge team that's participating in that league should be, relatively speaking, about middle of the pack, so they'll win some, they'll lose some. It's going to happen. But
Everton?
What?
They're Everton?
Sure. Nestor says 18 teams is correct. So that tells you how hard that Sergio and Jeff and the Surge have been working to draw in additional supporters and supporter groups. I mean, it's incredible, and it's not just MLS either. There's a couple, 4 or 5, maybe more now, but there's 4 or 5 USL supporters groups that are participating. There's, like I said, there's a couple from Liga MX that are participating, and these are strictly supporters groups teams. They are not just fans of the Dynamo playing together. It's actually supporters groups. Supporters that are playing. Awesome.
So, I mean, is it on a weekly basis or?
Yeah, actually, it will be weekly. The intent is to stream every match, Fridays and Saturdays. So Friday evening, beginning tomorrow evening, and it starts at, and Nestor will correct me if I'm wrong, I believe 7:00, but it may be 6. I think it's 7. Starts at 7, and then it'll run through basically 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, because it's just, you're talking that, 18 teams, you're talking no, 18 teams, so it's 9 matches, because every team plays both. Not this
So
Friday, next Friday. Sorry, that's right. Sorry, May 7th, 8th,
so
8th.
what? How does it? How would it be affected if MLS comes back and plays?
Oh, it's going to keep going.
Well,
This
yeah,
is not a
I mean, I'm sure it's going to keep going, but I mean, as far as the timing and the
that
and the
will yeah that's going to have to be discussed by the organizers, in terms of Sergio, Jeff, and all of them who have kind of organized this and put this together. I can't I'm not going to speak to what the plan is, but I assume that the intent will be, if a team, if two teams are playing that, and they're, one of those team supporters are, home, that their team home team, they're the home team for a match, and their team plays that night, then they'll, there will be some leeway to allow them to reschedule that match for an earlier day, type of thing. The intent is to stream every match, but I don't know how long that's going to last. I think there's probably some change that'll happen, especially if MLS play starts back up. But speaking of MLS play starting back up, I think we're still probably 2 to 3 months out.
yeah.
They're looking at, right now, they're saying end of June, beginning of July, to bring teams back to start really getting ready to play. And so that puts us at mid-July before teams are really even able to play. And then it's still not going to be open stadiums. I think we're still looking at probably another month after that, where they're going to play closed stadiums, closed-door stadium games, because look at MLB and what they're planning to do. And their season hadn't even started when this all took place. And so for MLB to be considering the option of playing, having 3 different divisions, and all of those teams being in one area, in one city, and playing all of their games together, that just shows you what we're talking about in terms of the logistics of making this work, coming back from this and figuring out how to make this work. Now, MLS is not going to go that route. They have too many teams in too many different areas around the country, and it's just, they can't make it work. But I do think what we see with MLS is, I do think that they're going to end up in some way, shape, or form. I mean, because if they come back in July, that's going to be a lot of matches crammed into a very short period of time. You're talking the second half of July, all of August, all of September, all of October. That's 4 months, and that season's normally an 8 to 9 month season.
It's one of those things where, when we're speaking about the baseball, baseball, they play every day, so
Yes.
Obviously the logistics of it, they had to stay somewhere kind of neutral, so where
they couldn't afford to deal with the travel. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And MLS, obviously they play once a week. Sometimes they got 2 games a week, or one of those 3 in 8 days, or type of deals or whatever. But yeah, I totally agree. I mean, depending on what happens with the situation, I know they're gonna start slowly opening some cities up in some states. Obviously, like I know here in Houston tomorrow, they're gonna. Well, today's kind of the last day of the stay-at-home thing, and I guess we're gonna go into quote unquote phase 1 of whatever they think is going to happen, and let's see how it goes. And they're going to allow certain limitations to restaurants and other places as well, malls, I believe, and I believe I also saw movie theaters and things of that nature.
Correct.
So I guess we'll see what happens with that. I mean, because a lot is going to happen. Well, these next couple of days, or even next couple of weeks, to be honest, I think the first 2 weeks is going to be really potent to see what we're going to do as far as sports go, nationwide in America. Because if they open this up and phase 1 fails and everybody starts getting sick again and the numbers start rising, then that June, July might start going into August, September, October. So
well, and the thing to consider with that too, and this is why I stress very heavily that the logistics behind this are massive, because there is every reason to believe that we could see a resurgence of this, even if when people start gathering together, the numbers don't increase immediately. The expectation by the CDC, the WHO, etc., is that when winter comes around, we're going to see a second wave of this that's going to be pretty heavy.
Oh yeah.
And and what we've seen is already pretty significant in terms of what it did to the economy to sports to everyday lives, those sorts of things, and people's jobs, and et cetera, et cetera. But if the thought is that it could be worse come winter, now I suspect that Houston may be not nearly as bad as some other places in the country are going to be.
Well,
But
Sean, before you continue, I mean, as far as like when you say going to be rougher or harder than what it was last time, I think I think you're talking about in reference to how the disease is going to hit somebody, or are you talking about economical stance?
no, I'm talking about
Or
I'm talking specifically about the physical side of things, not the
okay,
economic.
yeah,
I'm
because I
not
mean,
even because I can't even right now. My brain simply cannot start to think about the economic impact, the political impact, the social impact, if you will. I'm focusing
because
strictly on the individual impact.
yeah, because you got to think about it. I mean, when this virus hit us, I mean, we saw the news about what was going on in China and stuff like that. We kind of just turned, gave it the old, oh, okay, and then looked away until it kind of got closer and it started spreading out. And then when it hit us, I mean, it hit us. It it wasn't a sucker punch like a blind punch because we knew what was going on. I think we didn't expect it to hit the way it hit, and I think what I'm hoping is that there's some kind of preventative, I mean, quote unquote, antidote by winter's time.
No, no.
Hopefully, you
I'll
know.
tell you right now. The expectation is there's not a vaccine that's going to be available
Yeah.
within the next 12 months at least.
Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things where I guess maybe I mean just I don't know because I mean they're saying they're trying to see how the how people who already have that and recovered from it how they're going to react to it whether or not they can get it again
Yep.
or if they become kind of I guess immune to it. I mean, and they still haven't seen any directions on whether or not or whether they're immune or whether they're going to get it again because I mean you're not going to purposely give it to somebody again,
Yeah, no, no. Look, human test subjects is out of the question. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things where it's yeah. I understand what you're saying as far as like the physical standpoint of it from when it comes again and some winters hit hard, and those areas are going to be the areas we're going to hit really
That's what I
hard.
was specifically talking about.
Over down here, obviously our winters are like 2 days long, so
Hey, 2 weeks,
you
man.
know
Come on, give us some credit
maybe
here.
okay, 2 weeks, whatever. But I mean, but the thing about it is, when you got such big cities like New York and Boston and Washington D.C. and Chicago and all these cities that are really really cold and get blasted by winter, and those are 5 of the top 10 cities in America. It's gonna be a devastating hit for the nation.
It is, and the only reason I even bring that up about winter is because if MLS is looking to begin games in, like I said, mid-July, well, I'm just going to use that as because that's what we've heard basically, mid-July, and they're going to try to finish the season as quickly as possible. They're looking at playing into the winter, and if there
They're
is
gonna
any
play.
sort of resurgence, and again, this isn't work. MLS play does not just impact or is not just impacted by the U.S., but we have to. There are Canadian teams. We have Vancouver, Montreal, and Toronto, and so what Canada does also has an impact on MLS.
Yep.
And then of course there's travel. And if the, travel is an interesting animal right now because if teams have to travel for away matches, I mean that creates an opportunity for for potential infection, and so but that's why I say the logistics behind this right now, even at this stage, are astronomically more than I can fathom, and I'm not a logistics guy to begin with, thank God, because it was never my specialty.
You
But
know the
go ahead.
the crazy thing about it, like speaking about trying to open up, right? MLS trying to open up. Take for example the Bundesliga, who they were trying to open up May 9th. They already had it set that they were going to open. They were going to play
Restart,
matches
yeah.
May 9th until obviously the German government came in and said, nah, we're not doing that
And
right
they
now.
were going to do closed door stadiums. They had no intention
Yeah.
of doing open stadiums.
Yeah, I mean, and you think the logistics for a country like Germany, which is like America's probably like 5, maybe 6, 7 times larger than as far as size
Land
wise,
area, yeah.
landmass or whatever, and they were going to play closed door stadiums. Obviously their traveling situation, they can travel on buses, like a lot of these European countries can as well. But when you talk about traveling in America, if you're not, to be honest, if you're not traveling in a plane, unless you're going from a city to city that's close by, like in state, I mean, you're going to be worn out sitting in that bus trying to get from Houston to LA,
Heck, I
or
mean, so Kansas City, right? That was the next match that was scheduled, and
yeah,
there were conversations around trying to charter a bus to Kansas
KC.
City for away fans to go as part of supporters groups and things of that nature. And I can tell you that chartered bus trip was scheduled to be roughly 13 and a half hours.
Yeah,
And that's just here to Kansas City. And Kansas City is probably one of the three closest, teams to us right now,
yeah.
in MLS play. And so, you want to talk craziness. Not only that, but let's take and consider, a Seattle or, a New York. Not only is it difficult just time wise, but that becomes astronomically even more difficult because now you're talking about high infection rate areas where their governors are being even slower to reopen things very
Oh,
accordingly,
for sure. And you have to.
appropriately. And like I'll say I just came off helping support the Whatcom County response up near Seattle, so like right on the outskirts of Seattle, on the north side of Seattle. And so I know firsthand what's going on up there, and I can tell you I don't want the Dynamo traveling up there for the next 2 to 3 months. Please no. Not because they have a high chance of getting infection, but just because I don't want them to be put in that position. And so it's just there's a lot. We look at things in a microscope of our sphere of influence, our day-to-day influence, our day-to-day interactions. But when we expand that to start to realize what the league is trying to figure out, from ownership to managers to league office personnel right now, just trying to figure out how to make this all work. And it's not just MLS. We're talking NBA's trying to figure things out, MLB are trying to figure things out. NFL are lucky as hell right now that their season, wouldn't start until September anyways. But even
And they're
they've
already
been
talking about
impacted.
October.
But even they've been impacted because they haven't been able to practice. Normally OTAs would have started already. Or be close to, no, this would be starting in like 2 weeks or something like
July,
that.
late
But
July,
still,
yeah.
yeah.
But
So
but go ahead.
I was just going to say, so all I'm really pointing at here is that MLS is not the only impacted sports league. It's not the only impacted sport, and we're in a time period of our society and in our history as a human society that we've never had something of this nature that we've had to deal with on this level and in this way and without any other real option, to be very honest, in how to deal with it. And there's still a lot of unknowns from a scientific community standpoint at this point. And for leagues to have to try to figure out contingency plans based on what we know now, in 2 weeks, that information could be outdated and wrong. In 2 months, we could be looking at a completely different situation. Now, I'm not saying it could be a negative. It could be a completely positive where, hey, yeah, you can go right back and play in normal and everything's fine and dandy. I don't know. I'm not scientific in that nature. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a disease specialist. Never
I'm
have
not a
claimed to be
doctor.
one, not on TV or otherwise. What'd you say?
I said I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV.
No, I don't even play one on TV. I wouldn't want to put that on myself. But it's just I want anyone who's watching or listening, even if it's after the fact, I want you to understand that as much as we, and that's me, Mark, and plenty of people I've spoken with, want the Dynamo to start playing again, want MLS and soccer to come back as quickly as possible, we also understand that there is a lot to figure out, and there is a very real justification for taking things a little bit slow and being a little bit patient with it.
See, and the thing is, like, sports right now is taking the backseat to everything else. As a matter of fact, they're probably in the trunk. You know,
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
because I mean,
No,
it's
they're in the
just
trailer. They're in the trailer behind the trunk, dude. They're not even in the trunk anymore.
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things when you're talking about life and just life in general. I mean, sports is nowhere near close to mattering. As much as we enjoy it, as much as I wish that we can be out there every Saturday at BBVA cheering on Dynamo or at watch parties or cheering the Rockets on right now during the playoffs and watching the Astros and all that stuff. As much as myself, Sean, I'm sure anybody and everybody watching this stream would want to be doing that. I mean, the health and well-being of my family and my friends matter a whole lot more than any of those things. So I mean, it's one of those things where unfortunately this is the situation we're in. It's one of those things where if it doesn't kill us, it's going to make us stronger, right? So hopefully we come out of this being stronger and maybe smarter next time, especially when something happens in one of these other countries, and not just be so I guess loose about it and not worry about it. Because I mean, we heard about this stuff coming on in China about around Thanksgiving time, if I recall. That's when it started hitting them hard. So we kind of just turned the left cheek, and that was it. So maybe next time we start maybe prepping prepping and making sure that if something like that were to spread out again, we're a little bit more prepared for the next wave of viruses or whatever comes our way.
Yeah,
But,
make sure
Sean,
you
I mean,
make sure you if you are putting together your preparation kit, make sure you put in about a 36 pack of toilet paper in there, because apparently that's one of the first things to go.
toilet paper and booze, but
Now booze didn't go. Oh, it's still available. You just got to know where to go.
well, yeah.
Toilet paper is a different situation. It don't matter if you know where to go. You're still struggling to find it.
But I mean, just going on, on to the next thing. I mean, like I said before, we move on to the next thing. Just trust us. I mean, we're out here trying to do our thing and trying to entertain y'all as much as we can. I mean, I know this is only the second show during this pandemic that we've done. And Sean, obviously, he stated earlier, he's been busy. I've been busy. I mean, sheesh, man, we've been working out there. We've been in these streets, man, and it's crazy out there sometimes what these people are doing sometimes. And some people are just like, whatever. Some people are like, hey, if it's gonna get me, it's gonna get me. But some people are just like, I'm gonna stay home and not go nowhere. And
I just wanted to say I want to definitely give a shout out to the Dynamo and Dash players. That they've a few of them, the ones that are still in the city, have.
Oh, the social media.
Was that you? Oh,
What?
thank you for subscribing, Alex. That was awesome. So I have subscriber alerts set up, and it makes a guitar riff noise, and it totally caught me off guard because I was not anticipating that happening. But thanks for subscribing, Alex.
Hey,
We
there you
appreciate
go.
it. That was pretty cool.
Alex, what's up, man?
But yeah, I was just gonna say, I've seen pictures of, of a few of them out, helping out. Thanks for subscribing, Callow. Thanks for the guitar riff. That's amazing. I think he did that intentionally, to be honest with you.
No.
But I've seen them out. I've seen pictures of them being out and volunteering and helping where they can, and I want to call that out because I appreciate that, because there's no requirement for them to go out and do those sorts of things.
No.
And they're doing it because they care about the city, they care about people, and that shows a lot. Thanks, Keith, for subscribing. Holy crap, that's 3 subscribers, man, in like 5 minutes.
There we go, man. We're bringing joy to the people. But yeah, but man, and aside from that, I mean, the social media content has been lit as well. I've been loving what I've seen on the Twitter page for the Dynamo and the Dash.
Man.
All the new graphics and stuff like that as well. So
I know Bianca's not going to see this. Bianca's one of the 2 primary social media managers for Dash and Dynamo, and she does a fantastic job. I've known her for a while.
well, shout out
Thanks,
to
Christian,
Bianca,
for subscribing as well. But I was just going to say that between her and her counterpart, they are just knocking it out of the park. And I mean, a lot of teams, social media teams, are doing very well right now. But the Dynamo and Dash have just been next level. Some of that content has just been
for
the
sure.
graphical content that's been coming out. Oh man, I'm just like every day I'm checking it. I'm like, all right, what's coming out today? Like, I need new wallpapers, man. Hook me up with more wallpapers.
So Sean, you want to move it on? Keep it rolling.
Thanks, Shayla, for subscribing. We appreciate it. I think some of these may be old, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But I can't fast forward it through them. But if you are subscribing right now, thank you.
All right.
I don't, like I said, it's free form. So what subject do you want to speak about next?
So to keep it rolling, I mean, what I said prior, prior to the pandemic happening, I said I was gonna post up a poll question, a day, 24 hours before the actual show. And since we kind of put the show on last minute, I didn't quite have enough time to do a 24-hour poll question. But the poll question on our Twitter at Gen Orange Radio, if you didn't see, so two leagues decided to close for sure, no matter what happens. League
France.
One, the League One, the French League, and the Dutch League. The both of them, it's over.
The
Whatever
Dutch league is
happens,
the Eredivisie, isn't it? Or is that Norway?
yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's
the
Dutch. Yeah,
DVCA.
yeah.
But the thing about the way they shut down was the thing that kind of took me for a who and made me wonder was the right way. So League One, they closed. PSG is champion. There were 12 points above everybody, so no hesitation there. Obviously, they were the head of the bunch or whatever. And in the Dutch league, you had a tie with Ajax and AZ Icomar or whatever. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong, but they're tied at 56 points each, and Ajax has the advantage on goal differential, so they didn't crown a champion.
Yep.
Which when you don't have a champion for your league, there's a lot of things that go into consideration. I mean, who's going to represent you in Champions League? What position are they going to be in? What pot are they going to be drawn from? Obviously these are things that are way ahead of us because we still haven't even finished this Champion League, campaign going on if it's going to finish. And it's a lot of things that I've noticed, so I threw up the poll question, and up to the moment stats, it shows that 65% would want a champion, the League One way, and 35% say no champion. They want the season finished or no champion at all. So, with that being said, you take a league like the Premier League, and you take a team like the Liverpool, who's actually been a historical team, team, and and those supporters haven't won a league title in over 30 years. They've been waiting for this. This is their moment, and Champions League title was awesome last season, but this Premier League title is like they're everything. And if they go the way of the Dutch league and they say no, this campaign did not finish, so we can't crown you champion. If you were a Liverpool supporter, Sean, how would that make you feel?
If I was a Liverpool supporter, first of all, I would never no. If I was a Liverpool supporter, I'm torn on it. I completely would. I think if I'm a Liverpool supporter, I'm obviously pissed about it. But at the same time, I think I understand. Let's say it was the Dynamo in that situation. The Dynamo were leading. God, if the Dynamo were leading the league, and then they said there's no playoffs this year, there's no supporters shield this year. We're just calling the league at this point. Let's say we were in August when it all took place. Then I would be understandably frustrated, but at the same time, I think I would understand that it was necessary. On the flip side of that, however, there are legal ramifications to doing certain actions such as that as a league.
Yeah. Before we go into all that, those
I wasn't going to dive into it. I was just going to say I hope they realize the can of worms they're opening up by making a decision like that.
So now going back to the Liverpool example, obviously Liverpool are so far ahead of everybody else. I think they're 18 points ahead of Leicester City or Manchester City, one of the cities.
Yeah.
So obviously, in that standpoint, it would be tough as a Liverpool, if I was a Liverpool supporter, to swallow the fact that we can't be crowned champion, even though there was 8 weeks left, I think.
Yeah.
And we're 18 points ahead with I think a game in hand. So obviously for us to be caught, it would take some kind of miracle at this point, to be honest, But then you have La Liga, where Barcelona is ahead of Real Madrid by 1 point, I believe. And these are two of the biggest financially backed clubs in the world, if not the two biggest, maybe alongside Manchester United. But, if regardless of which decision is made, the other one's going to be against it. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So if the La Liga says, okay, we're going to crown Barcelona champion, Real Madrid, and I forgot who the third place team is. Will qualify for Champions League, and then fourth place has to go to qualifying, all that stuff. Now you got other teams, vying for these positions, these Europa League spots or Champions League spots, who have who will appeal these decisions because those 8 games, these teams are all crammed up. It's not where they're off Europa League spot by 10 points at this stage of point in their table in their league. I mean, it's one of those things where you have to make a decision where obviously lives matter. Everybody's life matter. If this thing is affecting everybody's life, close everything, shut down everything, it doesn't matter, obviously, right? But if we're not going that far deep into the woods or whatever, and we're gonna bring back a little bit, and it's not that big of a deal, and where you can actually make a decision and not have to put people's lives in danger, then then it's kind of one of those things where how do we finish, or do we finish, or do we just crown a champion now? Because I mean we're already kind of going into the next season already, because this is we're already kind of like going into their off period, I guess, quote unquote, even though they're having their off period right now. I mean, what do you do if you were ahead of La Liga? What do you do, Sean?
Like I said, I'm glad I'm not in that position.
Yeah.
Same thing with MLS. I don't have to think that way, and I'm appreciative of that fact because like I said, I can't even wrap my head around it. It's unprecedented, first of all. And so how do you handle it? You just don't. I mean, there's no right answer here. Because even if you do play the rest of the season, you have to cram those matches into a shorter period of time. So other teams that may end up negatively affected as a result of this, maybe Leicester City move down from 3rd to, 7th, and they end up outside of the Champions League, place, then, as Leicester City fan, I go, if we hadn't had to play these games in such a short period of time, maybe it would have been a completely different situation.
Yeah.
And so, you got to think of it that way. You got to think of it also in the fact of, player injuries and things like that are very different. Coming back from them are very different. Now you're looking at a Tottenham team, for instance, that have, will have Harry Kane back. That's a huge addition for them to be able to have him back for the remainder of the air quote season. And Harry Kane could very well help them to a Champions League spot, from where they are right now, which I think is in 8th place. So, these are the types of things that you literally can't look at and go, it's unfair for this reason, because those reasons are all based on your expectation of what would have happened. But let me flip the script for those that say, well, Harry Kane wouldn't have been available until, he's technically not even available yet. He wouldn't have been available until May, which would be like maybe the last 2 matches of the season, right? So when I look at it, if I'm if I want to flip it on other people, I speak of it like this. I'm like, who's to say that one of your primary players would not have been injured during that period of time in those last few weeks of the season? So just like Harry Kane was injured, in the first 8 weeks or whatever. No, it was longer than that, but first however long of the season. There's no reason to think that other players can't get injured as well for other teams. So again, my point though is you can't plan for certain things to happen, and they are going to happen.
So let me show you.
What's up, Alex?
So let me show you what happened with League One with their decision to closing, right? Okay, so obviously PSG is champion, right? Marseille and Reims qualify for Champions League. Lille and Nice qualify for Europa's League, with Reims going to Europa League qualifyings. Now, here's the twist. For those who follow European soccer, promotion regulation is usually 3 teams go down and 3 teams come up, right?
Yes.
But in this sense, since they can't have any playoff games, because in the second tier, because that's how you kind of identify.
That's how who gets to move up.
The third, who's that third team to move up? There's only 2 teams being demoted and 2 teams being promoted. So the 2 teams in the French league will be in Toulouse and Amiens. They're being regulated, with the third team, the supposed 13 that was supposed to be regulated, names only missing out due to goal differential.
Yeah,
which is crazy, And there's another. It's a crazy thing because there's another thing attached to this, because now you think about it, their their Copa de France or whatever, their French Cup, or like the U.S. Open Cup here, or Copa MX in Mexico, whatever. They run under a different administration, so they still have a few matches to go there. I think they had one more. PSG is already in the final, and they had one more match. I think it was Lyon and Saint Etienne that needed to qualify to the final to face PSG. Now, the thing about that is that they can decide to play those matches. They don't have to follow the France Federation of, rules of them, closing the league down. This has nothing to do with the league because different teams from different leagues in that country play in this competition. So, with that being said, if Lyon or Saint plays their game and they play the final and one of them happens to beat PSG, then they would take a Europa League spot from one of the other teams because they're cup champion. And then another twist is if Champions League football comes back, what does that do for PSG's chances to win? Because they're not playing any league matches, so they're only going to be playing once every other month. I mean, twice that home at home match a month, and then they got to wait another 4 weeks to play their next round if they make it to the next round. So they're gonna be sloppy because they're not gonna be getting match plays from their leagues, while everybody else, if everything goes well, they're still playing their games. You got your Barcelona still in the matches. You got your Atletico Madrid still playing. They're still playing their league games, and everybody else still playing their league games. But PSG isn't. So they're just sitting at home. They're training, but nothing compares to gameplay. So
No,
that puts
absolutely.
them in an awkward situation because as much money as PSG has invested to one day lift up that Champions League crown, I mean it puts them behind the eight ball for sure.
Well, and then you got to think about the Champions League. I mean, it wasn't like it was concluded. There were still matches to be
No,
played, and those teams are affected just as much. And so yeah, like I said, it's the the impact of this is substantial when it comes to sports, but especially
yeah,
soccer because of the interconnectedness of soccer internationally versus say the NBA or MLB or NFL or even NHL for that matter, where your teams are not necessarily playing like having an opportunity to go play tournaments worldwide, type of thing. So,
yeah,
I just it's it's it sucks to be a commissioner of any league right now and try to
yeah.
figure out what the answer is, if there is a right answer, what that answer is. I don't envy any of the commissioners of any sport league in the world right now. I really don't. And then again, it's made that much more impossible for soccer commissioners because you're talking about a whole different level of international competition. And just because you decide one thing does not mean that another country that is going to participate in the same tournament may decide differently.
That's true, and it affects a lot of things, like you said, because of all these side competitions that all these soccer teams play in Europe. Because I mean, like I said, I mean, if the NBA decided to let's say, hey, let's scratch the rest of the regular season, whatever standings you were in, that's the playoff seeding, and then we're gonna give you 2 weeks to get into shape, whatever, blah blah blah. Great, you don't have to worry about going play a NBA Open match here with so and so to move up to another round to this. So, you don't have another tournament to worry about. All you have to do is just worry about getting back into game shape and getting ready for the playoffs. Um, as opposed to this, like I said, your federation might make a decision as far as, hey, we're shutting everything down. That's it. Whatever, But the other two leagues, let's take the League and Premier League for example. Here, they say, yeah, we're gonna do whatever we can to get the matches played, whether it's behind closed doors or whatever. We're gonna get the seasons finished or as close to finished as we can to where we can crown champion and make sure we get everybody else listed the way they need to be listed. Um, but when you do that, now you're putting now, does that commissioner, for say example, the French league, does he putting all his teams behind the A ball? I mean, he's being responsible, from a moral standpoint, from a, obviously I wanted to make sure my players are taken care of. They don't get sick, all that other stuff. But from a financial, economical, and I guess in a football standing standpoint, he's putting them behind the 8 ball, because these other leagues are moving forward with their leagues, doing everything. So I don't know. Do you think they were too, they jumped the gun on announcing the end of their leagues already, both the French and the Dutch league?
Like I said, I it's like
Yeah.
we. Yeah, fortunately for us, there's plenty to talk about in terms of that stuff because, again, there's still so little known about the outcome of what we're going through as a society.
Mm-hmm.
That decisions can be nitpicked to the nth
Oh, of
degree.
course. Yeah.
And we're always. It doesn't matter what happens. It
And,
doesn't
and, to,
matter
and
how far ahead a team is. Even if that particular team's season was never in doubt in terms of like a Liverpool or a PSG, they're going to win their league. Okay, that's fine, but it doesn't just affect them. That's
yeah.
the thing that I think a lot of people tend to forget. It's not just about who comes in first. It's in soccer, we're talking about those teams in second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then,
That TV money.
16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. We're talking about all of those teams are impacted. And it's money, it's significant investment difference when you're talking about a team that gets relegated. The amount that they get when they get relegated going to USL is substantially lower than a team that stays up in the Premier League. So you're talking about that. You're talking about, the profile of players that are willing to come to your team. If you're in a championship team versus a Premier League team, you better believe Premier League teams are always going to draw higher quality players because they're Premier League. They have a chance to show on the biggest stage of all their capabilities. And then a team in Premier League versus a team in USL Championship, a Premier League versus the Championship. You're also talking about a situation where you have players that are expecting to play Champions League play because that's what they were sold by the managers at the time, and now they may not get an opportunity to play Champions League play because of what's taken place. And so all of these things, are things that commissioners and league controllers and managers and things like that. All of these things have to be taken into consideration. And again, it's not just soccer. We're talking baseball, hockey, even to some degree football as well, and basketball. The discussions going on around in the NBA are very interesting because they were nearly at the very tail end of their season, and it dramatically impacts their seasons. Now, those leagues, again, those sports don't have the same level of international competition where, your players are leaving to go play, or your clubs are leaving your local area to go play internationally
Promotion
for
and regulation.
yeah, and they don't have promotion and relegation. You're exactly right. And so, and then, we could start talking USL and how it impacts USL. We haven't even touched on the USL impact. You're talking tons of teams in USL that it impacts, and they don't have promotion relegation or anything, but there's a substantial difference between between teams that were close to being able to vie for their division championship, as you will, or be in the playoff hunt because USL has playoffs for championship teams, and so I just all of these things, and then we didn't even touch on transfers and free agency and trades and those types of things. I mean, that's a whole nother financial aspect that, again, is heavily impacted by this one major catastrophic event. And again, it's unprecedented. There's no precedence for how you handle this. Forget as a society, there's no precedence for how to handle this as a commissioner of a sports league. Coming back to that point, it's like
there isn't. Because you got to think about it from a standpoint of a human being, also as a businessman or a businesswoman. Do I do what's best for my players health wise, which obviously is what the commissioner of the French league is doing, by shutting down the league, and the Dutch league by shutting it down and just saying no more, no mas. But do you go the route? And let me be frank, I'm not opposed to either or. Obviously everything changes day by day. There's a lot of changes going on. This is how impactful this virus has been, worldwide, because everything changes day by day. But I'm not also opposed to La Liga president or or a Premier League president just standing pat and just letting this. Let's see where it goes. Let's not jump the ball yet. We want to put some time. We want to put a timetable on it. If we get to this day, this is what we'll do. If we get to this day, this is what we'll do. We have plans in place for certain situations. And I think they're taking a more laid back approach. The thing about it is I don't think that the leagues are too worried about playing in front of fans, which obviously to this point I don't expect to see another sporting event or campaign that's in this year to be filled with fans. To be honest, I mean I know that might sound a little crazy, but we're living in crazy times. So there you go. But but yeah, man. I mean, I'm not opposed to what the French and the Dutch league did, nor am I opposed to what the Spanish, English, and the other leagues are doing right now. Just standing pat, waiting to see what happens, waiting to see what their governments say, waiting to see what they're gonna do. I mean, just here in America, I mean, we're starting this phase 1 thing here tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes. Because, to be honest, yeah, phase 1 could start tomorrow, but you don't really see the impact of it until, 3 weeks from now to see, how people are feeling and how people are reacting, and are more people getting sick, or people not getting sick, or are numbers or death tolls rising up again? Are they falling, or they're, there's nobody dying, well, we don't know. But good thing you brought up the transfer market, because so I seen, regardless of the fact, of everything going on and everything being pushed to a halt, basically, there's still, players going to be moved in the summer transfer window. There's still going to be players going somewhere else. People are out of contracts. People have already made decisions on where they're going to go next, other things. The only difference is that there isn't that much money available to make these high profile signings and to sign these $200 million to do these $200 million transfer deals, blah, blah, blah. Sorry. And I've seen, like on a lot of the transfer talks and transfer blogs and websites, that a lot of teams are talking about swap deals.
Yeah.
And we're not, and for those, who live in the United States, obviously, like trades, I trade, say, player B plus something else or whatever. That's normal here, but it's not that common in European football.
It's really not.
No, really, it isn't. And sometimes you look at it. For example, let's take the Neymar situation with PSG and Barcelona the last transfer window. They were offering, player A, B, and C plus this amount of cash for Neymar. You choose 2 of the 3 players and this amount of cash, and you send us Neymar. When you look at it, from the perspective as an American sports consumer, you're like, okay, yeah, that's easy. We can do that. Yeah, I'll take these 2 players plus the however much money you're going to give me. That pretty much equals up the value. Yeah, let's do it. But it doesn't work like that, man. It's for some reason, swap deals are just rarities in European soccer, man, and it's kind of baffling, now that you think about it, because a lot of people are talking about, like, these high profile signings, these huge transfer fees are not going to be going on this summer transfer window, maybe not even for the winter transfer window. And I understand that. I mean, it's an economical crisis that we're going through financially, especially for these huge multi-billion-dollar clubs, they're out there splashing the money, like your Barcelona's, your Real Madrid, your Manchester Uniteds and cities. They're not going to have that capital like they used to, because obviously there's nobody buying their merch. Man, I get it. I don't know about you, Sean, but I get an email from World Soccer Shop, MLS, 40% off, 30% off this, blah, blah. They're trying to sell this stuff, man. And, because nobody's buying merch.
My personal brand that I shop at all the time is Soccer for All. Soccer for All, guys, they have 4 locations around the Houston area, and they are taking online orders now. And if you order online, you can pick it up at the store, not in the store, at the store. They have some sort of delivery mechanism for that. You can't do in-home delivery, though. For some reason, they turned that delivery option off for now, but you can still pick stuff up in store. And I will tell you that they have mystery grab bags right now that are on that are available, and the mystery grab bags are usually like you get 3 player shirts or whatever. for like $65, $85. The price of one for three, basically. And I know a couple of people that have gone ahead and done that, and they've always been happy with it. I did that a couple of years back, and always happy with it. And so I only say that because Soccer for All, it's my place to shop.
No, for sure. There you go, man. Shout out Soccer for All. But
If
yeah,
y'all
man.
are watching, we take payment in form of gift cards.
But yeah, man. Like I was stating prior, I mean, it's gonna be a weird transfer window for a lot of European fans because these swapping of players, it's gonna be something that's gonna have to happen a little bit more often now because the money's not, it's just not there for them to ask for.
Well,
You know,
let me interrupt you. It's not just the money. The money's not the only thing here. It's when does that player actually get to start playing with the team? That's taking it. We say money, but that's the impact we're talking about. It's when does that player finally get to play with the team? When does that player finally get to practice with the team? Okay, if I make that swap and I bring that player in, and that player's on an expiring contract, I may not even get that 6 months of service that's left on their contract. I may only really truly get a couple of weeks at this rate, or I may not even get that. I may have to negotiate a contract without getting to see that player play a single match with my club. Those types of things have to be taken into consideration as a manager, as a chairman. The people making the decisions. There's so much to weigh right now, and everybody just it's when I say the impact is substantial and astronomical. Again, I'm not just talking in one area. I'm trying to make it as clear as possible that COVID has completely altered the last 3 months of life. Well, 2 months of life. Sorry. Well, actually 3. I guess we're end of April now, going into May. Last 3 months of life, but not just from life standpoint. It's not just life. I'm talking about every level of day-to-day operations are impacted. Thank you, Mark, for putting a little light into your face so that we can actually see you a little better. It's getting a little spooky up in your house. It's pretty great. The other thing I wanted to ask, and I'm going to take this conversation a different direction. Yeah, you do. I got some good recommendations for lighting, by the way. Nice inexpensive little LED thing that works really well, and it gets really hot though, so be aware. But what I was going to say. I while you were talking, I was thinking about MLS, and I was thinking about teams, and I was thinking about the impact of teams, and something I don't think I've seen talked about is what does this do to your 2 expansion teams that started this year here in MLS?
It's crazy because I mean, you have one obviously glamorized franchise in Inter Miami that were ready to go hit the ball running, right?
And they're in talks to try to acquire a big name star from overseas. Go ahead.
They're in talks to acquire maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I mean, because I mean, Pizarro is like their I guess their quote unquote star right now. But I mean, for those who follow Liga MX, they know who he is. He's not really an A-team Mexican national team player.
Sure.
He's up and coming, but he's not like that marquee name that like a Chicharito, I guess, in his prime or whatever. But they're in talks of bringing some big name players over. But like, it can both improve or even hinder their way they're going to approach signing these players that they have in mind, because given the state of how everything's going right now, if I'm said player, for example, let's take a player, for example, Edson Cavani, right?
Sure.
Big name, everybody knows him, right? One of the all-time leading scorer at PSG, Uruguayan, whatever, all that stuff. If I'm Edson Cavani and I have my family who's been living in Europe for the last 10, 12, 13 years, and I'm going to go take this little venture in the United States for a 2-year contract, whatever. And the crisis that we're dealing with right now, where it can benefit Inter Miami, it can help them by saying, look, Europe is getting hit hard. You don't want your family in that situation. It's hitting France. If you're thinking about going to Atletico Madrid, it's hitting Spain really hard. Or if you're even thinking about going back to Napoli, Italy is the worst hit European country right now. It can benefit Inter Miami in those negotiations because regardless of whether you think soccer players or not, soccer players are really close to their families. A lot of soccer players are, and their family life really matters and really weighs into the decision making. So where before it might have been a 25% chance to sign Cavani to Miami because it's an expansion franchise, yeah, it's MLS, blah blah, whatever. I still feel I got 2-3 more years in Europe in me. He might think like, well, 2 or 3 more years in Europe might cause one of my kids to get sick from COVID-19 or whatever, or from another kind of virus. While in the United States, it's Southern Florida, it hasn't really hit Florida that hard. It hasn't really hit Texas that hard. Yeah, New York, up north, Washington, it has, but it's a little bit more contained here. There's more space out here. Like if you really want to social distance yourself, you can social distance yourself in America. It's not like for those I've been in Italy and in Spain and stuff like that, and it's pretty crammed in there. It's pretty tight. Those streets are small, and people are everywhere. So it can sway a player to say, you know what, yeah, I'll come to MLS. But it also can deter Inter Miami's chances of signing a player because obviously they were already hyped. They were already expecting to sell tickets, have money come in, because they were going to have home matches, which they didn't hold a home match yet, Inter Miami. So they don't have that capital come in. They haven't got the merch sales because they haven't had fans to come in and buy jerseys or whatever, or buy soccer balls or merch or all this stuff. And it might put a little damper into their financial backing, and you might say, hey, you know what, we can't afford a player of Cavani's stature. We might have to go next level down. Next level down, I don't know who that could be, but but yeah, we can't talk about these European superstars right now because we don't have the capital for it.
So I'm gonna share some info. I have heard from a few different sources that there are conversations going on to how MLS is going to restart the season. And, I was mentioning earlier about how MLB are looking at potentially doing like a 3-division thing in different, 3 different cities or in the same city so that all the players and stuff are kind of in the same area and can be controlled and monitored. I think we may end up seeing MLS consider that as an option as well because and we talked about it, the cost of figuring out travel and handling travel right now is massive. So it would not surprise me if we maybe see that take place with MLS as well, considering I know that it's on the table as something that they're discussing as a possibility. And it wouldn't surprise me if they came out and did it like tournament style. And I don't know the impact. I don't know what that means. I can't even begin to fathom what that truly means, for the season, for the league. But it'd be basically, I guess it would be like a preseason tournament all over again, like your Tucson Cup tournament that that the Dynamo participated in preseason, where you have teams playing each other in kind of a round robin format. You crown a champion, you give them some money, and you start your season after that, like a week later, 2 weeks later. But to back up, when I was talking about expansion teams in MLS, I was actually thinking of it from the aspect of fan support. Because Miami had such a high level of fan support projected, and that showed up for their first home match. I wonder how that stays the same when stadiums are reopened to fans. Does that level of support continue after all of this? Is this the type of thing that could potentially slow their growth a little bit? Can that slow? Is this going to impact Austin, coming in next season? Again, more things that the commissioner of the league, Don Garber, has to consider. More things that these, these owners and managers and coaches have to consider is the impact of all of this on their seasons, on their teams, on their players, et cetera. So, and Mark's decided he's just going to call it a night. He's done. Oh, look at that. He's got light. Hey! I'd like to introduce my co-host, Mark Segovia. He's decided to join us now that he's come out of his hiding.
Man, I'm still getting used to the switches around here. Too many switches.
Hey, man, congratulations on the new house. I know I've said it multiple times, but that's
thank you so
awesome.
much.
And y'all picked a wonderful time to buy a new house. But I bet if y'all waited like 3 months, y'all probably could have got a much better deal.
I don't want to jump off the thing topic out here, but yeah, I was telling the wife, man, if we would have waited 2 more weeks, man, that interest rate would have been a whole lot.
Oh, a whole different situation.
Yeah, but anyways, but no, man. I mean, man, I think it's up to the teams. So we're taking Inter Miami here in particular, right? If Inter Miami, let's say Don Garber, says, hey, you know what? Okay, everything's improved. We're gonna start the season July 15th. Just a number, a date out there, right? I think it's the job of the club, and especially the marketing manager or whoever's in charge of marketing over there, to get the team hyped again. To get everybody involved, the communities, the supporter groups, and to get everybody out there, to make sure. Because I mean, people are going to be vying to want to go out and socialize, right? If they're allowed to go to these stadiums or whatever. I mean, which I still think that's another hurdle that's going to have to be jumped. But like, as far as let's say it's a closed door, right? People are going to tune in because, it's live events. The NFL draft, it's astonishing numbers. NFL draft does well regardless, right? But the numbers that the NFL draft pulled as far as views, it just blew it out the water, obviously, because the Last Dance documentary that's going on about the Chicago Bulls right now, numbers are blowing out the water for a documentary series, So this being a live event, and especially being something that a lot of people in Miami were looking forward to, I'm pretty sure people are going to watch it, right? But it's up to the social media directors and the marketing directors of the teams to really try to unify the supporters and the supporter groups and all the fans to try to get involved with them, during the games, as far as like maybe doing some kind of YouTube feed, or some kind of social media giveaway during the match or something, to keep everybody unified, to see, hey, who's really following, what's going on, hey, are you enjoying the match, blah blah blah, whatever. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of ideas come out out of all this, as far as when hopefully things start for MLS. And as far like Austin FC and like I forget the other team that is it Sacramento, I think. It's kind of hard to say how it's going to affect them, because I mean, obviously they're still underground building up, but I think it does kind of harm a little bit for Nashville and Inter Miami at this point, obviously, because this was their season to get started. This is what they worked up to get to, and then to only play one match and that be it, or two
Not
matches
Nashville.
and that be it.
Not Nashville. This isn't Nashville's first season. Nashville played last season. No, this is Nashville. Sorry, I was thinking of Cincinnati. Yes, you're right, yeah. Nashville. Sorry. So
I mean, it's one of those things where it's, you were so hyped because you finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and then for it to be shut off, by some boulder that fell at the other end.
And the best part about this, though, is that it's Miami that's impacted. A team that literally has been in the crosshairs of MLS for how long, and and I really want to throw this out there. Still don't have their own official stadium yet. But it's just, it's just another level of what this impacts and that sort of thing. So, Mark, I actually need to go. I got to go do something. Voice call. I've been requested to join a voice call for something.
No, that's all good. It's all good.
So we're going to end a little early tonight.
No problem.
Because I can't continue streaming while I'm doing the voice call. But I am going to make the commitment that I will be available next week on Thursday night. If Mark is available, we will do another hour show, and we'll keep doing hour shows until the season restarts, until matches begin to get played again.
And if we're not available for Thursday, we'll try sometime during the week.
Yeah.
Try to get that wiggle room there somewhere for an hour at least. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, man. I mean, it's good to see the few of you who are on right now. Obviously, y'all can always talk to us on Twitter, or if we know you, obviously just hit us up or whatever at Agent Orange Radio on Twitter, at Sean Ringrose for Sean, at Segovia for myself. And stay safe, guys. I mean, first and foremost, I know everybody's going to be happy to go out tomorrow and go see what they can do. But, take it slow. Take it slow. Training wheels.
Don't all rush out at once. Trust me, that's not the way to do it. But guys, like I said, we will be back next week sometime, hopefully Thursday night, for about an hour. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.